J-O-E in the place to be. HB on the track, it's like ecstasy. Rowing a well of 7 years, what we drink and be. Trying to sling the dopest rhymes in the galaxy. Let me take a minute though and relax your mind. Sometimes these words can be hard to find. 24/7 on that daily grind. Hearing voices in my head, man, they not that kind. Cause bitches be bitching, snitches keep snitching. The world keeps turning, and I keep hitching a ride instead of living my life. Yo, 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 yo.
Man, when you feel hungry, don't you have to eat?
Yo, yo, pump up the volume and digest this beat.
Rapscallions in the house with this lyrical treat.
When we're done with you, you're gonna ice your feet.
If the world ends tomorrow and you had one chance,
Hey, yo, would you start to move like it's your last dance?
yo, do something small in the past and present changes.
Do something now, the future rearranges.
Cause bitches keep bitching.
Yo, snitches keep snitching.
The world keeps turning.
And you start living your life instead of hitching a ride. Rapscallions. J-O-E in the place to be. HB on the track, it's like ecstasy. Rowing a well of 7 years, what we drink and be. Trying to sling the dopest rhymes in the galaxy. Let me take a minute though and relax your mind. Sometimes these words can be hard to find. 24/7 on that daily grind. Hearing voices in my head, man, they not that kind. Cause bitches be bitching, snitches keep snitching. The world keeps turning, and I keep hitching a ride instead of living my life. Yo, 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 yo.
Man, when you feel hungry, don't you have to eat?
Yo, yo, pump up the volume and digest this beat.
Rapscallions in the house with this lyrical treat.
When we're done with you, you're gonna ice your feet.
If the world ends tomorrow and you had one chance,
Hey, yo, would you start to move like it's your last dance?
yo, do something small in the past and present changes.
Do something now, the future rearranges.
Cause bitches keep bitching.
Yo, snitches keep snitching.
The world keeps turning.
And you start living your life instead of hitching a ride. Rapscallions.
Welcome everyone to episode 29 of Rapping with Rapscallions. Today's show is the World of Whisky. Check out, hey man, I like your skirt, dog.
Thanks, man. I like yours too. And I like how we're so proper in that we have them tucked into our skirts. We have our hoodies tucked into our kilts, man. That shows
Kilt.
class.
We're classy.
Classy guys. Because it could have been untucked.
It's true. You don't want to be untucked.
Don't wanna
So
be-
today, on this show today, we're going to take all you people out there who are listening on a deep dive into the world of Scotch whiskey, all the different blends. Joe is an aficionado. He can taste all the poached pears and
all
chocolates
the
and stuff in there.
posters. You know, I mean, if the pear ain't poached, don't send it my way, man, because I'm gonna send that right back.
Yeah.
I
If
would
the
say
pear ain't poached,
that.
you've screwed the pooch.
That's right.
But first, let's get started with the weekly Rapscallions weekly wrap up. Did I say that right?
Weekly Rapscallions wrap up.
Yeah. So how was your week? How was your week, Joe?
Well, you'll be happy to know, HB, that I have continued on my strict weekly regimen of getting my exercise in after work in the afternoons. All right. I haven't stopped, which is good because I thought I was going to stop, but I didn't stop. I can't stop. I won't stop.
Exactly. Don't
So
stop.
it's very interesting though, because you know me, man, I like high intensity stuff. So I do my high intensity things. And then afterwards I feel very vulnerable, which is fine. Because then I can take a shower. You know, I'm just like so weak because all my muscles feel like they can't do anything else.
Oh, you mean like you feel like not emotionally vulnerable, but because
Emotionally too.
tired.
Emotionally
Also
too. Emotionally. And you know, on Friday, I got out of work. I did my workout hardcore. I was like, let's do this. And then as soon as I finished my workout, when I was feeling vulnerable and emotional, I got an email from work, which was an uppercut to my mental state of mind.
So maybe you should like go into a post-workout cocoon.
I think
Check
so.
Emotions.
I think that's what I should do, man. I'm gonna try and. Hey, didn't you see like that movie with the old people? What was it called? Like Cocoon.
Yeah, that was cool. That was a good movie.
It was. It made me sad though, man, because they were old, and that sucks.
Yeah.
But anyways, so it was good. So I'm doing that, man. So it's going well. Yeah, you know how it is. You know, when we're professional rapscallions trying to work during the week, like it doesn't stop. It's never ending.
Never stops.
But we're doing it, man. What about you, man? How was your week?
I've been trying to be more active as well. You know, just being in front of the computer on the chair isn't the best for you. So 8 hours in front of the chair, no bueno. You got to make sure you get up You got to get up, stand up for your rights.
Stand up for your rights, dog.
So, what I've been doing is I try to every morning I go do some yard work. I have my weeda, which is a weed whacker, but with a big blade on the end of it.
Nice.
So I'm trying to prepare for dry season, get the last cut in, make sure all the edges of the fence are well trimmed and everything. And then I come home and stretch, try and get the muscles going. Speaking of old people, I'm reaching level 45 this week of wizardry.
Oh, snap. That means you can do all the spells.
That's right. I have a new bunch of spells in my little magic wand. Is I'm Gandalf the Grey now. I can,
hey, but you look amazing, man. I wouldn't put you a day over 40. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you, Joe.
Never ever.
Hey, young man, you got quite a bit of gray there in that chin skirt, I see.
That's how it is, man. That's how we do rapscallions. You can't be a rapscallion unless you have, the gray. It's wisdom.
It's wisdom, man. These are the experience points right here.
What are you gonna do on Thursday, man? Do you have any big plans?
I haven't really decided. I don't know if I want to. I had a pre-birthday party yesterday and the day before. That was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was a beautiful day, so we're on the yard, enjoying the weather, enjoying some good tunes, and the chickens came and sat with us. That was
nice.
Yeah,
that's cool.
They're very inquisitive little animals. And I made a big soup. I made a faux soup.
All right. Nice. That's PHO, right?
Pho.
Pho.
Pho. It's not faux. It's pho.
Pho. So exciting.
We had pho soup, and I toasted all the aromatics. I toasted the ginger, the cinnamon, the star anise.
Ooh.
And I toasted some coconut too to give.
I saw that, man. How was that?
It was good. But when you're partying all day, then you're like, okay, let's go eat soup. You're like, So had a bowl and went to bed. It was fun.
How long did the party last? Was it all day? You were just doing the day drinking stuff, and then you were just like, time to go to sleep.
Well, I got off work yesterday and decided to start with the birthday celebrations. And then I woke up and I'm like, I just kept doing it.
That's might as well celebrate, right? Because we have to celebrate more because this is the life we got.
Exactly.
And you know what? You can celebrate again next weekend.
Indeed. Next weekend, this is going to be my birthday week. As you guys know, it's tradition to claim a whole week for your birthday and celebrate the crap out of it.
That's why all the tunes that Rapscallions will be putting out this week will be in honor of HB's upcoming birthday.
Level 45 wizardry.
That's right, man. All the Bobby Brown, because we know you love Bobby Brown.
Oh yeah, it's my prerogative to do what I want to do on my birthday week.
No, nobody can tell you what to do, man.
That song is awesome.
Nobody can tell you. I'm gonna put it again just for you tomorrow. We're gonna start off with my prerogative. It's Monday and it's your prerogative.
Monday is my prerogative. I love it. Well, now that we've got the planning out of the way, we have so much to talk about today, Joe. My goodness.
We do, man. I was very surprised at the amount of information that one can discuss when talking about whiskey. So, we're going to take our time. We're going to walk our way through it. And before we start, just kind of let everybody know, HB and I, we're not experts.
We're not experts.
We're just guys that like to talk. That like to have a good time.
Have a good time. Crack some jokes. What are you drinking, by the way? What's your crunk today?
Today, I'm actually drinking in honor of whiskey. I'm drinking a Whiskey Collins. So it is whiskey. I used what I had left of my Chivas Regal. I mixed that with some lime juice, some sugar, simple syrup that Robert Martin taught us how to make last time.
Robbie, you taught us all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of stuff.
If you guys missed that episode, you can find it by scrolling down. Mixmaster Robbie Martin told us how to do everything and how to get started in mixology.
That's right.
You got a Whiskey Collins. Is it tasty?
It is tasty, man. I put it in my shaker, so that means I got to shake a little bit. And I like to shake. So I shook that up, and then I poured it in this pint glass with ice. I added a splash of sparkling water. Bingo, bango.
Sounds delicious. I'm keeping it simple. I'm in the interior. Not the selection you think you might find out in the interior of fine whiskeys, but I did find a bottle of Justerini & Brooks
Ooh.
which I like it. Just with water and ice. It's hot as hell out here, so this is pretty refreshing.
Yeah, man. That's one of those things. Whiskey can be a very refreshing drink as well, depending on how you make it. Because a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'll have a Scotch on the rocks in some cold weather," which that also hits a spot. But
Mhm.
then in the warm climate, man, you mix that up with some ice, some water, or whatever whatever mixer you want to have, and it's
It's delicious. This is very refreshing. When we were prepping for the show, I was kind of grumpy because it was so hot, and then
yeah.
I downed one of these, and now I'm quite refreshed. I have to say.
Excellent, and that's how we like the CHB. Fresh,
Refreshed.
fresh.
Fresh. And speaking of drinks, I think we had some people. We just got someone right in. Can you go over the first recommendations by our fam scallions?
Yes, we had two fam scallions make recommendations for whiskeys during the week. So special shout out to first and foremost to Dan Norman. Dan, he said, "Hey guys, you know what whiskey I like? I like the Aberlour Bunat." I'm pretty sure I butchered that, but that is what he likes. That is, if I am not mistaken, that is a Speyside whiskey. Those are pretty sweet, pretty tasty. I'm imagining I know what that could taste like.
You're thinking of peaches and stuff?
I'm thinking of poached pears, actually.
Poached pears. Oh,
Poached
how delicate.
pears.
And if you missed, Danny was on the show. If you missed that show, he told us all about the expansion of the canal and mega projects. Scroll down, you'll find all of them on our Facebook page. They're also on YouTube. And what else?
True that, man. And Ingrid McCartney, she chimed in as well, and she said that she is a big fan of the Balvenie 15-year-old, and that is also a Speyside whiskey. We'll be talking about the Speyside whiskeys later on in the show. Again, these are, they're kind of fruity whiskeys. So, and I think these are quite popular amongst people, the kind of sweetness. So shout outs to Dan, shout outs to Ingrid.
I got one more. My Aunt Jane Holgerson Thompson. She says single malt, the Edredor out of smallest distiller in Scotland in Pitlochry in Perthshire, Scotland.
Yes, Pitlochry. I know Pitlochry well. Edredor. It's funny because every time I saw that whiskey, I always thought of Ecuador whenever I saw the name. It looks similar. But that one is a very good whiskey as well. Totally recommended. I mean, I think with whiskeys, it's one of those things where people will ask you like, what's the best whiskey? But it really depends on your own taste, right?
It does. There's a wide world. Like I know Joe, for example, likes the peatiness, where I can't handle too much of the peatiness. So there's all kinds of flavors you can go after, and that's part of the fun of it. Part of the fun of doing your research and getting recommendations and of course getting together with people and tasting it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's really no wrong way for you to enjoy a whiskey. I think mostly it depends on how you like it. And that's it, man. Like seriously, just enjoy it the way that you want to enjoy it, whether it's, the Aberlour or the Balvenie or the Edredor. They're all amazing selections that you can have at any time of the day. You can have them single, like just to like without any ice, without anything, or with ice and a nice mixer to like freshen you up, man.
Yeah, I like it.
No doubt. But I think HB, before we go into talking about whiskey, because man, whiskey has a long history, a really long history. I was pretty astounded by all of this stuff. I thought maybe we could talk about our own personal introductions to whiskey. Potentially when was your first time that you ever had a whiskey, and what were your thoughts about it?
I've always been a rum guy.
Yeah.
And living in Panama, there's plenty of rum to choose from.
No doubt.
As far as whiskeys, I'm less on the Scotland side and more on the bourbon side of it. You know what I mean? The Canal Zone had Agewood, which was a type of, I guess it was in honor of Scotch whiskey. I can't remember what specifically type it was.
Yeah.
Bottled here in the Canal Zone. That was pretty good. and then I think in Panama, Old Par was always been very popular, and
Yeah.
Johnny Walker's, of course, you know,
For sure.
you can find it in all the strip joints.
You've heard.
I've heard, I've been told that. This J&B, you know, I used to drink that. They had it at the Elks Club. I drink that there. But you know, I never really got into the whiskey side. Uncle Milt Thompson and Jane's husband, he had an excellent collection of single malts.
Nice.
And you know, whenever we'd go visit, he would you know share a tipple with me.
Right.
Taste that stuff. It was good, excellent.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I think similar to you. I think growing up in the U.S. and then coming back here to Panama, as you said, man, we have we're exposed more to rum and to seco, right? And I remember one time, I remember going to Las Tablas for carnivals and seeing a big sign on the road. This is more than 10 years ago, saying that like in Los Santos, I think it was in Los Santos, is where they drink the most Old Par, you know. And this to me seemed wild. I was like, wow, Old Par. It's drank the most in this specific area of Panama. And my knowledge of whiskey and Scotland and all that stuff was just like, I mean, almost non-existent, you know, other than the fact that I had been to Scotland as a child. You know, it wasn't like I was like, oh my God, whiskey, obviously. And I thought like, oh, I guess where do they make this Old Par? And to me, it was very incredible because my knowledge was minimal. And then I had a friend whose dad loved Chivas, loved it. He would always drink it, and he would always drink it with ginger ale. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, whiskey and ginger ale, wow, Chivas. And then it wasn't until I went to Scotland to do my master's where kind of like my mind opened up a bit more to what it was like, you know, to all the different sort of types of whiskeys there are, and you know, the different things you could taste or smell in the whiskeys. And I remember I was in Edinburgh, and I went on this like tourist thing, the Edinburgh whiskey experience, or the whiskey experience, something like that, where you literally sat in a little car, which was like a barrel, you know, where they age the whiskey, and it takes you along, and you have this ride, and stuff is explained to you about whiskey and all that. And I was like, well, that's really amazing. And then after you leave that, you know, this guy explains everything to you. And in my head, I'm thinking that the whiskeys were infused with the different flavors that supposedly people could taste. No,
it's not.
It all happens because of nature.
Exactly. Nature brings us these wonderful flavors. They stick it in a barrel, and then things start transmogrifying.
Yeah, dude.
Wizardry word. Things change, and barrels impart flavors, and chemical reactions, and time, and distillation. And
ridiculous.
Yeah.
And here I was going to ask, like, oh, how do they put the taste? How do they put the citrusy taste into the whiskey? And the guy was like, no, it happens. Nobody puts it there. And I was like, crazy. Anyway, shout out to Eloy Benedetti. He is chiming in on Instagram. He says, what's up, bro? Go Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Wave. So all you Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, I think Tom Brady pays for the Buccaneers now, and he's like doing it big.
Look at that. They went straight to the they're in the playoffs, man. So
yeah, man. So go Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man. Go Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right. So now that we've known about our experiences with whiskey, HB, I think it's funny to say. I think it's fun. It's good to say that I think we know a lot more than we used to right now.
Indeed.
We've grown.
We have grown. In my youth, I never would have thought of the flavors of pickled pears and polka dotted pencils and pistachios and fruits.
I mean, truly only gentlemen with a refined palate such as we
Truth.
Can taste this.
So now that we've got that out of the way, should we have you asked me to do a toast, I believe.
Yes. So I don't think many people are aware. So tomorrow, we found this out when we were doing our research, or we remembered it when we were doing our research, is Burns Night or Burns Supper. The 25th of January is a celebration for Scotland's greatest poet, Robert Burns. This guy's like super famous. He's written a ton of amazing poems. I was listening to a podcast about him yesterday, and I was telling HB earlier, I think he was potentially, he must have been like a rapscallion back in the day, because this guy, not only did he have, like a regular day-to-day job, which kept him super busy, he was married, he had his typical things that he had to get through during the day, but he also found the time to express himself in the arts, more specifically, poetry. So I guess maybe after we're dead, HB, people will look back at the Rapping with Rapscallions and say, man, those guys were groundbreaking.
Yeah. How do they have time to make such wonderful content all the time?
I know. So tomorrow on Birds Night, people all around the world will normally have a haggis dinner. And it'll be this big, elaborate thing. And seriously, I mean, it's amazing how much people do, because they'll have a haggis isn't even a real animal, but, you could treat it as such. And on a typical Burns night, you have bagpipers, right? They pipe in the guests. A host does a welcoming speech to welcome the guest. And then after this happens, they say grace, right? So HB, I wanted to know if you could say grace. Say grace in the Scottish Gaelic for all of us before we start the rest of the show.
Some hae meat and cannot eat, and some would eat that want it. But we have meat and we can eat, and say the Lord be thanked.
Beautiful, beautiful. So this is said at the beginning of the dinner, and you did it wonderfully, HB. You did it wonderfully. If I had a burnt supper, I would have you there to say the grace. And then after this, people have a soup course. Then the haggis is brought in. Haggis, for what all of you know, is, if you don't know, it's basically like sheep entrails mixed with oats and spices. It's pretty delicious. It sounds disgusting, but it's pretty delicious. And people do a lot of toasting with whiskey, which is why we're mentioning this now. The haggis is brought in. Again, you have the pipers there. They do their piping to the haggis. Then there's an address to the haggis, which is a poem written by Robert Burns, which is super long. I was telling HB about it. If we read it, I think it would probably take the entire amount of time that we have for Rapping with Rapscallions. So we're not going to do that. You can look at it. You can look up on Google. You know that there's other coasters. People do a lot of toasts. Then they speak about Robert Burns's poems. Then the men do an address to the lassies. The lassies do a reply to the laddies. Again, people talk about the works of Robert Burns. And then there's some closing words, and people sing Auld Lang Syne, which is, of course, it's a very popular New Year's song. It's a beautiful song.
Indeed.
It's a beautiful song. So, for people that don't know, that happens tomorrow, 25th of January, the birth of Robert Burns, Rabbi Burns. I myself, HB, am going to try and prepare my vegetarian haggis once again so that I can enjoy it tomorrow with a wheat dram, maybe. But I think at some point in the future, we should try and make a proper haggis, find some sheep heels and stuff.
Hey, watch out. But, so if I'm to understand correctly, the only thing that makes a vegetarian is that you're not actually stuffing a sheep's stomach.
Oh man, I'm using lentils. Basically, I'm using lentils. I'm using kidney beans. There's nothing there's no meat whatsoever involved in this version of the haggis that I'm doing. I'm still trying to use the same spices. Granted, it's a bit difficult considering the fact that I'm in Panama, so I can't find a lot of the same things. But mostly it's just lentils. I've had the lentils soaking. I've had the pinhead oats soaking, and then later on I'm going to do mixing and cooking, and hopefully it will be delicious. And then I'll have that with mashed potatoes. You normally have it with neeps and tatties. So neeps or turnips, tatties or mashed potatoes. Can you get turnips here? I've never tried to get turnips here.
I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe you have to go to like Foodie in Marbella or something.
I don't want to pay $50 for turnips. So, I'll just do it with mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But I'll let you know how it goes. I'll send you a picture of it. And then maybe next time we see each other, I'll be like, check it out. I brought you some vegetarian haggis.
And I want some poached pears too.
Some poached pears, of course. Anything for you, my friend.
Thank you. I do. I like offal. I like blood sausages are my favorite. I like eating entrails. I I don't know what I'd do to go about getting an actual sheep's stomach. I know where I could get one, but I think they need it
To survive and to cut grass.
to cut grass. So yeah, I look forward to trying that haggis of yours.
Hey, man, believe me. I think the first time I made it, it was pretty good. So I'm hoping that the second time I make it, it's going to be amazing.
True.
And then maybe I'll open up my vegetarian haggis restaurant, which will hopefully get all the good reviews. All the good reviews.
I'm looking forward to it. Does rapscallions get discounts, right?
Totally, man. Totally. Fam Scallions get the friends and family discount, 10% off. 10% off.
So generous. So the Burns, he's a famous poet. He was very prolific, and he has his own night of revelry and fun and eating and drinking. I like it.
Yeah, man. I mean, a lot of whiskey drinking.
Sign on to.
Sorry?
This is something I can sign on to. I like.
Yeah,
this.
man. Totally. And people drink and dance. And in my research, it was like, and there's normally dancing if there are ladies involved. So I guess the men can't dance if there's no ladies around, which seems kind of sucky to me because I think you should always be able to dance no matter what.
Dance as if no one's looking. That's what I say.
Seriously, man. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Just get out there and dance. It's your prerogative, man.
Exactly. I think we should do an all-male Burns night and just dance all night long. I think that would be amazing. No disrespect to the ladies. You're welcome to come if you want to, but we're trying to prove a point that men can dance.
They can dance if they want to.
That's right. It's their prerogative. Bobby Brown said it best.
Indeed. So we have Burns night, lots of food, lots of dancing. And you know what? I think maybe we need to get into that Wikipedia and adjust it. I'm sure the men are dancing. Come on.
Yeah, they must, man. They're there in their kilts with their whiskeys. They're in the zone. I would dance.
I think so. And the later in the night, the more whiskey you've had, I'm pretty sure some dancing's going on.
No doubt. Especially you got the pipers piping.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man.
Come on. Who doesn't want to dance when you hear a bagpipe?
That's when you got the bagpipe going on. Especially in a closed space. No windows.
No windows. Fireplace.
COVID. It's the best.
So do you have any Burns dinner Zooms lined up?
I don't actually, but I just remembered. I did go to a Burns dinner once, where I had just gotten to I got to Edinburgh around August, so of course this was happening in January. Man, where does the time go? So then they were like, "Hey, let's go out to a Burns night." So I was like, "Okay, let's do it." And it was super delicious. I think it was the first time I'd ever had haggis, and we went to this restaurant that had a special Burns menu set up, and I didn't really know what to expect. But I was really trying to get myself into the culture so that I could understand it as best as possible. It was amazing, man. And everybody was happy, and they were eating their haggis, neeps and tatties, and they were drinking their whiskey.
Wonderful.
Amazing. And it also helped that it was cold outside. Because when it's cold outside, everything seems nicer. Because it's cozy.
The warmth that everyone's emanating is crispy and delicious.
That's right, man.
That's right. How many Burns nights did you enjoy when you lived in Scotland?
No, I think I only enjoyed one.
Only one?
I only enjoyed one. Or that I can remember, at least.
Yeah. So that's kind of when your palate for whiskeys kind of developed, isn't it?
It started to develop, man. It started to develop. And, one of the big questions, again, we're going back to preferences and all that stuff. People will say, man, single malt whiskeys are better than blended whiskeys. All the blends. One of my favorite whiskeys is the Johnny Walker Green Label. And this is a blend of 4 single malts. Johnny Walker Diageo, they say that it's from the 4 corners of Scotland, right? So, I mean, I personally think it's amazing. I think for the price, which I think now, they discontinued it for a bit, which was murder to me. So I was actually going around Panama trying to find all the remaining bottles of Johnny Walker Green Label that they had. I found 5. And then after a couple of years, they brought it back. So I was very happy. So people always say, nah, man, only the most expensive whiskeys are the best whiskeys. I mean, come on now. No, man. I think it depends on, again, like we said earlier, your personal taste. your personal taste. I think Green Label is amazing. I think if somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, Joe, here's a bottle of Green Label," I'd be like, "Man, thank you so much."
You guys hearing? That's a hint, people. Send him Green Label if you find it.
That's right. But people are always saying like, "Hey, man, single malts are better." It's like I got a Rolex and I got a Swatch. I'm like, they both tell time. It doesn't really matter to me. It's a watch is a watch.
There is a bit of snootiness in the liquor, fanatics. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
in rum, there's a like the person who knows the most tells you, "Oh, that rum's crap." I say, you know what? I like it, so F off.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't make you less of a person or anything. It's just like, this is my personal taste.
Right. It's like, if you want red wine with your seafood, go right ahead. It's okay.
That's right.
Whatever you like.
Right. Just drink it because it's what you want to do.
Yeah.
So anyways, I think so then just two things that we got to make clear before we start, or one thing that we got to make clear is the difference between the basic types of Scotch, right? So you have the malt whiskey, which is made from 100% malted barley. And then you have the grain whiskey, which can be made from any grain. This usually includes maize, which is corn, or maíz in Spanish. Yeah, I know, right? Or wheat, but has to include a fraction of malted barley in it too. So a good example of this would probably be, I guess, the J&B that you're drinking.
Right.
That is a grain whiskey that has malted barley, but it also has maize or wheat was the other one that I mentioned, I think, right? Or does that say, now you're going to be like, this is a single malt, Joe? I'll be like, oh, crap.
This is blended Scotch whiskey, a blend of the purest old Scotch whiskeys. It says rare all over it.
There you go. It's rare.
Either I've had too much whiskey or I need glasses then.
Well, you are turning 45, my friend.
So, blended bottle in Scotland, established 1749, Justerini and Brooks.
I think it's safe to say that we're on the right track. Again, if people are listening to us and they have something to say, please chime in. Let us know. Which
like
guys
Famscally interaction. Like I said before, I like bourbons, which is, kind of like when these distillers, they got to the New World and saw fields and fields of wheat. And they they made their own thing. So you have bourbon, which is mostly corn based.
That's right.
And it's more piquant, in my opinion.
Piquant. And we should do a show on that too, man, because that's Jim Beam, man. Jim Beam's a bourbon, right? Yes. Jim Beam, that's a good drink.
Indeed.
That is a good drink. So just to clarify a little bit, single malt Scotch whiskey is also a blend, but it is a blend of malt whiskey produced in just one distillery. So if we want to have an example, the Glenlivet distillery, they get all their malt from that place. It is a single place of origin. Whereas blended Scotch whiskey is a blend of grain and malt whiskeys from multiple distilleries.
Interesting. I didn't know that before we did our research.
Hey, I tell you, it's incredible just learning all this stuff, because I think there's so much that goes into the process of making the whiskeys that sometimes you really just don't consider. And I think, just in the research that we're doing, there's 5 whiskey categories that people need to be aware of, right? So there's a single malt whiskey, which, as we said, is malt whiskey from a single distillery. Again, Glenlivet is an example of that. There's single grain whiskey from a single distillery, which I guess that would be like a bourbon, because that's a grain. Rye whiskey is a grain whiskey. There's blended malt whiskey, which is a mixture of malt whiskeys from different distilleries. Blended grain whiskey, again, you can understand what that says, and blended whiskey, which is a mixture of malt and grain, usually from different distilleries. So this happens quite often. I even want to say Johnny Walker Black Label. Let me just do a quick search on that, because Johnny Walker Black Label is a blend of different types. It's not malt. It's not pure malt. It also has grain. And so does the red. And I think the gold also. Green, again, is only blended malt. And blue, I think, as well. Blue is super expensive. But again, if anybody wants to give me a gift, Green Label is the way to go.
I read a while ago, the when the British Empire was bringing in loads and loads of tea
Uh-huh.
from different parts of the colonies, and they learned how to blend tea so that they could have a product maintain its flavor. And it's often surmised that it was the learning that they did while blending teas led to their expertise in blending whiskeys,
Oh,
and
word.
that kind of led to an increase in popularity of whiskey.
Well, that's pretty cool, man. From the tea, and well, we all know tea is very popular in the UK. I think even more so than coffee.
Mhm.
I think people just love blending stuff. And I mean, let's not forget, of course, we talked about US whiskeys, but Japan has made incredible strides in making whiskeys. Their whiskeys are really delicious. Um, we can talk about that in another time and place, because today we're talking about Scottish whiskey. And HB, I know that you're a history buff, man. And this is something that I did. I mean, doing the research, I found out that there was actually, because whiskey, for it to be considered a whiskey, it has to be matured for a total of 3 years. And this is actually stated in law in the Spirits Act of 1915.
The Immature Spirits Act of
Immature.
1950.
That's right. Immature, because they got to be mature.
That's right. They
You
got to
don't want
develop those flavors that everyone likes to pick out of the different brands and different regions.
You seem like an expert. Tell me about this act.
Okay, so this is on around World War One, and there was a teetotaler in power. What was his name? The Chancellor Exchequer Lloyd George. He was a teetotaler. He was not down with drinking and alcohol and stuff like that. So he was saying that the alcohol everyone's drinking is damaging their body.
Like buzzkill.
And yeah, it's total buzzkill. And he was saying that it's the people who are drunk all the time are not doing their effort in the war. So he tried to completely he tried to instill prohibition in Scotland, which I don't know how many Scots but I don't think they would have put up with that.
No way.
So another whiskey maker came in and came up with a solution. His name was James Stevenson, and he proposed that they age the whiskey for 3 years, and that will make it safer to the people who are ingesting it, because they did find some fact in the matter that people who are drinking immature spirits could cause blindness, blind drunk. That's where that saying comes from.
I mean, and I guess if you're fighting in a war, right? If you're trying to like win a war, or fight a war, you're not going to want to be out there just like jablasted on
like cheap liquor. You want to be jablasted on something that's aged for 3 years, Joe.
That's right.
So he also made another good point. He's like, the production of alcohol is very important to the war effort for antiseptics and also for explosives. So they were able, using that Scottish ingenuity, he was able to sweet talk and come up with a compromise between both sides. And that's where the minimum 3-year age comes from. And also it has to spend the whole year. So if it's 3 years plus 364 days, it's still a 3-year-old whiskey. And if it is a blend of whiskey, then the number that's on the bottle has to be the age of the youngest of the blend.
Huh. That's crazy. So even if I have a 12-year-old whiskey and I have a 18-year-old whiskey and I blend them, it's going to say 12-year-old.
Exactly.
Now that's you don't know. So you don't know.
Yeah. You know that, because in rum, for example, they have 21-year-old Solaras, and that's a blend. But the oldest rum in the blend is the 21-year-old. It could have a drop. You don't know. So this Immature Spirits Act actually helps the consumer by protecting them on what is being labeled on the label.
That's pretty good though. So let's say that you get a whiskey or something that has a pretty hefty amount of a 21-year-old, single malt, and they're blending it with just a little bit of a 12-year-old. You're actually getting a lot more of the 21-year-old, but it's labeled as a 12-year-old. So you're paying the 12-year-old price. So I guess there it's just basically down to your own capacity to taste the 21-year-old.
It might add special notes that you want in your own personal blend.
That's very interesting, man. So you know what that tells me? All these mofos that are paying like ridiculous amounts of money for Blue Label, they're getting gypped. Hey, gypped. Or at least you gotta trust that you're not getting gypped, right?
Yeah, I think that's another thing that kind of again, I'm a rum lover, but the price of entry for being a whiskey lover has just gone through the roof. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it's pretty interesting because now that you're mentioning that, of course, being in Scotland, back being a student, and as a student, you don't have the spending capacity that you do when you're not a student and you have a job. And I remember I could find whiskeys, like all the supermarkets I went to had their own brand of whiskey, which to me was amazing because whiskey is pretty expensive in Scotland and the UK. Liquor is taxed a lot. So, I mean, even here in Panama, I can find really expensive single malts over there for a decent amount of money here. I remember here, when I got back here, initially, I found the Glenlivet single malt, a 12-year-old, for $28. That's super cheap. But then somehow the price went up to $42, and now it's $42. So I was never able to take advantage of the super savings on that. But anyways, there's a supermarket called Sainsbury's, and I remember buying Sainsbury's whiskey. It tasted like whiskey. It would just burn the high heavens when it went down your throat.
So would you call that an immature scotch?
I think it had the very basic 3 years that it needed to be in the barrel before I purchased it. But hey, man, students are going to do what students are going to do, right?
That's right. So I have a question because we've talked about it briefly, but the peatiness involved is what turns me off from Scotch whiskeys.
Yeah.
Now you're a lover of that.
I do.
What is that profile? What about that entices you?
I don't know. I think it has to do because, of course, the peaty whiskeys are the ones that are from Islay, and we're going to talk about this later on when we see the different regions and stuff. But these have this smokiness that comes from the peat, I guess, when when they do the whole process and they're burning it in the stills and all that other stuff. I guess it makes me feel. I've heard people that have tasted it and they're like, it tastes disgusting. It tastes like medicine. And I guess to me, it tastes like warmth.
Really?
It makes me feel like, like it has this smell of like warmth. Like it sucks drinking it in a hot climate because it's one of those whiskeys that, in my opinion, I guess you can enjoy it more in a cold climate because just the smokiness of it kind of, it reminds you of a fireplace and, all the different things that you would associate, smoked ham, maybe from like a Christmas dinner or any of those types of things. So I think that's why I enjoy it so much is because it evokes these types of like feelings or memories.
Yeah.
But I know there's people that have, I bought a friend of mine a bottle of Ardbeg. Ardbeg is super smoky. And I was like, happy birthday. And I basically drank that bottle every time I went to his house.
Yeah, for me, it's completely overpowering. If it's really watered down, then I can manage the peatiness, but I can't have more than 4 drinks. To me, it tastes kind of like bile. It's so it's. But then you have whiskeys like Jameson from Ireland.
That's right. Yeah.
That don't have any peat in them, and I can stomach those. To
me,
it's a lot smoother.
No, and I think also if you search in Scotland, if you see the other whiskeys that are available, like the ones from Speyside or the lowland whiskeys or the highland whiskeys, those also have a much more kind of sweeter, fruity sort of connotation. There's even ones that are like you can taste the sea salt because the distilleries are near the sea.
Wow.
I can't taste the sea salt anywhere. I've been trying.
Well, there's a special word for that. Like the place that you grow it, the environmental factors, will change its taste. I can't remember that word. It's a chef's word, like the milk from this area tastes like that because the grass is affected by the sulfur of the thing, and
Yeah.
So I think all those environmental things do lead to perceptible changes in flavor.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think they do impact the flavor of the whiskey that you're drinking. But then also part of me thinks, and we were talking about this earlier, that maybe it's just all mental, man. Maybe it's been said so much for so many years that we're like,
Right.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
dark
I think
chocolate.
the power of suggestion, right?
Yeah.
It's like you can stand on one. We'll have a fam scallion come in, drink. You stand on one side, I'll stand on the other side, and we'll both be like, I taste raisins.
Yeah. And they'll be like, oh yeah.
It's like,
Oh.
it tastes like mango leaves.
And then the beautiful thing about it is, though, is that you can't be wrong, because people will say, oh wow, you picked that up. Oh.
Oh, I haven't tasted that.
I mean, there has to be a limit, I guess. At some point, someone will be like you'll be like, oh, I taste, cherry Fanta or something. You're like, no, man, that's impossible. You cannot taste like strawberry Coke in the whiskey. But I mean, I don't know. My taste buds are different to yours.
Truth.
Who makes the rules? I don't know.
What if the green you see is more like my red?
That's right. That's right. That's right. And then we get into a fight, and they're just like, stop it. This is bringing out war in the world.
Exactly. The whiskey wars.
The whiskey wars. Those would be some tasty wars, man.
Yeah. I like that.
Tasty. But you know what's totally, man. And you know what's funny though is that what you were talking about earlier. So the blended whiskey was much more widely, I guess, drank, because it was the way it was processed and everything was much safer than the single malts. Because I think, as you were saying, if you drank it straight up single malt without the 3-year maturation process or any of that stuff, you were like, messed up. So then blended whiskeys have been around for much longer than the single malts. Yet for some reason, in today's day and age, single malts are seen as being like for people with more refined tastes, which again is ridiculous. And I think, there was William Grant and Sons. They're the ones that released Glenfiddich in 1963. And I think they had a campaign that said, you may never stand for a blended scotch again. And this was because they had a surplus stock of this and they needed to get rid of it. And then from that moment on, consumers, and I guess, hey, good for them, man, because they were able to, consumers were like, whoa.
Ooh.
Sick. Just one.
It's just single. It's not blended.
Not blended.
It can stand on its own.
Exactly. Which is pretty ridiculous, man. I mean, hey, good for them. I mean, they were marketing geniuses.
Sure.
Marketing geniuses, dude. But then,
and also you have all the differences in flavor because of the barrels that they use, right?
That's right. I mean, and I think if we're talking about that, I think, there's a lot of different barrels that are used, like the American bourbon or the sherry casks from Spain. And I think it's pretty crazy because, once you have the whiskey and you put it in these barrels and the amount of time they spend in the barrels, similar to the rum, I'm always so amazed at how similar the process is. It starts to absorb a lot of the taste, right?
It gets imparted with flavors. There are some rums that are aged in sherry casks as well, and then you have the American. The most rum distillers like to use used bourbon casks, and they char them and then put them in that to age. Whereas Scotch whiskey, I think it depends on the specific company, their secret recipe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But when you char them, that also imparts a sort of like a smoky
Caramel.
taste.
Yeah.
Caramel, yeah. Because I think the Johnny Walker Double Black, I don't know if you've tasted that one. So supposedly that one is put in. I'm really upset with Johnny Walker Double Black because when they released that one, it was to replace the green label.
Ooh.
But supposedly that one was put in charred barrels. And I was like, why are you doing this?
Yeah. Did you like it, or you're just mad that they didn't have the green anymore?
Well, I was mad they didn't have the green. I bought it one day actually because I was at work. And then my supervisor at the time, she's from Scotland, and we were like, hey, let's have a toast for something. I think it must have been Burnside or something. I don't know. Anyways, so I went down to Felipe Mota and I bought a bottle of the double black, and we were in the office and we were like, cheers. So it was pretty fun, but there was no green label. But now there is. And there's also another version of green label called Island Green, which is a smokier version of green label, which you can only find at duty frees across the world. So hopefully whenever I'm able to go back to an airport in the future, when I don't have to worry about getting COVID, I might be able to get some more Island Green. But right now, no way, man. I don't want to get COVID and I'm not going to risk it.
No, it's not worth it. Do you have any trips to Scotland on the horizon? I mean, times are kind of tumultuous right now, but
yeah, and they're sort of locked down as well over there. But no, I think that's one of the things that keeps me going. Like, I don't know about you, man, but throughout this pandemic, just thinking about things that I want to do in the future kind of helped me to stay kind of focused on just getting through the now. And one of those things is going to Scotland. Because I remember just over there before I came back, I used to love visiting the whiskey shops and just talking to the people in stores and seeing what they could tell me. And a buddy of mine was getting married. I came back in December 2011, and my buddy was getting married in January 2012. And I went to Royal Mile Whiskies on the Royal Mile in Edinburgh, and I was like, I need a whiskey that tastes really good for my friend. I don't want him to be able to find this in Panama. I want it to just be like. So he told me about this Old Pulteney 12-year-old, which is a Highland whiskey, if I'm not mistaken. He said, this is great. It's delicious whiskey. He was like, this is great. He's not going to find it. It's like the Beatles of whiskey, he said. So I was like, oh, okay. I'll take that. That's great. So I bought it over here. I gave it to my friend. Super happy with it. Everything was fantastic. I mean, I'm not going to lie. A bottle of whiskey is heavy. It'll make your suitcase heavy. So you're going to have to pay excess baggage fees if you're going to carry a bottle of whiskey on there. But I did for my friend. Hey, 2 weeks later, I go to Bodega Mi Amiga. And what do you think I saw in Bodega Mi Amiga? The same Old Pulteney 12-year-old that I brought for my friend. I was like, whatever, man, globalization. It was bound to happen.
Hey, but like we talked about in the rum episode, the abuelo that you get in Germany is different from the abuelo that you get here. So maybe you brought him the authentic stuff. So I think
I hope so.
Sometimes they have to change their recipes for international laws and stuff.
I hope so, man. I don't know. But, at least I was happy, though, because then that meant that I could get the Old Pulteney here in Panama. And the Old Pulteney was pretty delicious.
Yeah.
Pretty delicious. So, I mean.
Was there a big difference in price?
Oh, yeah. Huge. Huge. I mean, I think every time that you're going to pay for something in pounds, you're going to lose, man. You're definitely going to lose. You're definitely going to lose. But no, man, it's a really whiskey. But yeah, man, I don't know. I forgot what your question was. I think I just went off on a tangent.
Well, that's cool. That was interesting. I think what I was asking, what I initially asked was the peaty flavor, and then we went into barrels and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think should we put the map up and you tell us about the
let's do it.
That come from different regions?
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. I will do my best to try and represent these regions to the fullest and not talk smack, man.
All right, the map's up.
The map is up. Okay, so let's rock and roll. I think we can see the entire map there. That's the map of Scotland. Beautiful Scotland. So let's start with the lowland whiskeys. Those are the ones that are in blue. Glenkinchie is one of the more popular ones of these lowland whiskeys. These are characterized for being sort of soft and smooth malts. They have a gentle, elegant palate. Again, taste totally depends on the person that is trying these whiskeys. Some people have said they taste grass, honeysuckle, cream, ginger, toffee, toast, and even cinnamon. And these are, I can attest, these are lighter in character and they're great for having before dinner. So I think HB, these are some of these whiskeys that are just kind of just enjoying. You're going to eat, you're hanging out with your buddies, you're going to have big hearty meal. You might have a Glenkinchie 12-year-old. That one's called as the Edinburgh malt because it's the distillery That distillery is the closest to Edinburgh. I have a bottle of that one. Let me see if I can get it without knocking over my entire setup over here.
Uh-oh. Be careful.
Hold on. Here we go. Here we go.
Grass, honeysuckle, ginger, and cinnamon. That sounds pretty tasty.
Here it is, Glenkinchie. If you can see at the bottom here at the top,
real quick.
it says the Edinburgh malt.
Oh.
And again, I purchased this one here in Panama. It's a 12-year-old. It's really good. I really like it. I totally recommend it. But yeah, it's very light. So if you're gonna have something before dinner, just to you're kicking it old school, just enjoying yourself, this is really good. It's really funny with whiskeys though, and this I've noticed that normally I will start to taste the toffee after I've already had a couple. So off the first one, it's not gonna happen. Second one, probably not. Third one, I will start feeling the toffee. Also, when you smell it, you'll be able to get traces of toffee and all those other good things. Actually, I have this one here. Let me just pour myself a little bit since I have it here.
I want
have
one
an
of
empty cup. So, I mean, maybe I'll get you one for your birthday. I don't know. Maybe I won't. Who knows? Times is hard.
It's hard.
It's hard. So yeah, man, these are the lowland malts. Again, these are, I guess, like I said, Glenkinchie. It's one of the distilleries that's closest to Edinburgh, capital of Scotland. For those of you that didn't know,
that's where you spent your time, right? When you were living in Scotland.
That's right. I spent my time in Edinburgh. And it's funny because I really missed rum when I was over there. I had this crazy fear that I was going to forget Panama. Ridiculous. So I was trying to get rum. It's really hard to get rum.
You replaced your rum cravings with whiskey then, with Scotch whiskey.
I did it, and I love it. But still, I think they go hand in hand. And you know who's done a really great job of blending rums and whiskey?
Who's that?
You know.
I know.
You do know. We had him on the show. Yeah, we had him on the show.
Robbie Martin.
That's right, dog. That's right. Robert Martin from Intimo Restaurant.
What was the name of his special blend? He had special bottles and everything, right?
Well, he's done two, actually. He had the first one, which was called the Darien Project, and then he had a second version that he came out with, which is called Caledonia, which I haven't tasted yet. I bought it because I had to. And so I might potentially try it tomorrow night, Bird's Night.
Do you think that you're more, you favor lowland scotches just because that's where you spend your time, or?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm super partial to Islay, to whiskeys from Islay, man. And when we see the map, you'll see it's a very sort of small part. You can see it there.
There you go. It's in brown, so it's hard to see on this map, but it'll be one of the little islands off where the blue and the green meet. So it's off to the left there.
That's right. It's down there. And Islay it's pronounced Islay, as I said. A lot of people will say Islay. That's not how you pronounce it. It's Islay. Islay. And there's two
You can remember like this: Islay whiskey.
Islay whiskey.
I love it.
Exactly. You're natural, HB. Islay. And so Islay, man, there's two. I remember one day there's two very popular ones from Islay. One of them is Ardbeg. I have a bottle right here of Ardbeg. Boom. Check that out. Ardbeg. If you smell it, smells like smoke. It smells like a house is on fire. That's what it smells like. And there's another one. And there's another one. I'm almost done with this one. There's another one called Coal, Coal, Isla, which is spelled Ila. And again, very peaty. And supposedly the majority of the population of this area is involved in the whiskey production. And of course, as we said, they're famous for its fiery, heavily peated whiskeys. So I don't think you'd like to go to Islay.
No.
But it's magical, though.
I mean, I would go there and I would try it. It wouldn't be my favorite. You know what I mean?
I'm sure we could find one that's right up your alley.
For sure.
And so one of my most favorite experiences that I've ever had here shopping for whiskey in Panama. So I think this was during the pandemic, and I went to Felipe Mota and I was looking for whiskey. I was like, I should buy whiskey. So I'm there, and then this guy walks in and he was asking one of the guys at Felipe Mota, he was like, hey man, I need a super smoky whiskey. Which one should I get? I guess he was going to go have dinner with someone, or he was invited to go somewhere as a gift or whatever. And the guy at Felipe Mota was like, oh. So then I was like, hey man, check it out. You can get that one, or you can get that one. I haven't tried that one. And I pointed at the Cole Isla, but I have a bottle of that now, so I can try it later on. But I tried this one and it's super smoky. I guarantee you're gonna like it. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah. And he bought it. And I was like, boom, I just influenced someone into buying something.
Yeah. Yummy peaty flavors.
So I was really happy about that.
That's pretty cool. You got to share your knowledge with someone.
I did, man. It's very rare that you get to share your knowledge. Because the thing is, think about the amount of times that you've ever tried to teach someone something. The way we are in today's society, at least, you and I are both very receptive. We like to learn. But a lot of people are very much like, no, I know better than you do. You can't teach me anything. You know what I mean? So whenever you get to teach people something, or you come across someone who wants to learn, hallelujah, man.
It's enriching.
It is, man. Especially when it comes from a place of caring. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And if you say, I love peatiness. I love to share. I love to teach.
I think we need to put that on one of our Rapscallions t-shirts, man. Definitely.
Ooh, we've got another chime in here. Bruce Hill likes Glen Turret or Glengo. I don't know. I'm going to mess that up. Glengoyne.
Glengoyne,
12-year-old. Thanks for chiming in, Bruce.
Thanks, Bruce. Let's have a look at that. Glengoyne. It's a Highland single malt Scotch. And actually, it's good that he mentioned that one, because Highland single malts, I actually have an experience with the Highland single malts. This includes some of the islands off the coast of Scotland. It's a huge diversity of flavors, characters, lighter whiskeys, all the way through the salty coastal malts. The Old Pulteney, again, this is one of these whiskeys that they say you can taste the
salt
air in the whiskeys. But I visited the Oban distillery, which is in the West Highlands. This is on the coast. I have a bottle of Oban somewhere down. Let me get it. I have so many bottles of whiskey. That's why I normally have to put my camera on blur, because people like to focus when I'm at work on the bar cart I have behind me. So here's the Oban.
Well, let me change the scene. Hold on. All right.
This is a delicious whiskey as well.
If you lick the bottle, will you taste salt water?
You will. I smell it, and I feel like I'm at the beach.
Oh, wow. If you put it to your ear, can you hear Poseidon calling you?
I do. But this one, so it's from West Highland, the west of the Highlands. It's in the Highlands. Beautiful destination to visit. Incredible to go and visit this distillery. I really enjoyed it. Again, as I said in the description, it's incredible with the whiskeys, because they're like, various different types of palates, whatever, blah, 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 blah. So basically, you can make whatever you taste is what you taste, But I was at the distillery, and the person who was leading the tour, it was a Spanish lady who worked for Diageo. She was like, where are the people here from? Blah, blah, blah. And so, people were like, Scotland. And I was like, Panama. And then this had been, people were like, whoa, Panama. And then this had been just when the Panama Papers situation happened. So, of course, someone turned around and was like, do you have any papers from me? And I was like,
here's a $5. Go get yourself some soup. Here's your paper.
I was like, come on, man. Give me a break. But yeah, Oban, man. Oban whiskey, totally recommended. Again, from the Highland region. And again, it's one of those things where it's like all the tastes, man. Flavors.
Is this one going to have the peatiness of Isla, or is that exclusive to Isla?
Isla is exclusive to Isla.
Well, I'm saying the peaty flavor. Where can I?
Yeah. It's exclusive to Isla. Okay. Like, I think you might feel certain hints of smokiness, but never as intense as the ones you're going to get from Isla.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
So yeah. Okay. So just recapping, the Highland region, lighter whiskeys all the way through salty coastal malts,
Yeah.
Highlands offers a Scotch for every palate.
That's right.
I think I would have fun finding one that I like.
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, I think Robbie G's chiming in. He says, shout out to Robbie G, man. He says, I'm at the Guild General Assembly. You guys have your kilts on. Yes, we do, Robbie G. Because we're talking about whiskey. Because this was scheduled before the Guild Assembly.
Check it out. I got my socks on. I got my kilt on. You know, I like the color of your socks better. I don't know. I got blue, but I like you got the plaid.
Because those are the ones from my clan, dude. My Mac Mosquito clan. Mac Mosquito.
I knew that was very Scottish when I first heard that name.
You could be McTooey.
McTooey.
Robbie G says, praise. You can have a clan too, Robbie G. You can be
the Bob clan. McBob.
You can be McBob. And yours can be yellow or orange. I like that.
Prison
like
jumpsuit.
That. Yeah, exactly.
So, looking at the map, it looks like Highland, it covers a lot more area. Is that like the predominant distiller? Is there more Highland scotches in comparison?
Well, actually, sorry, Robbie G's just chiming in like crazy here. He says he's McCrae. He said his dad was born there. Oh, whereabout was he born, Robbie G? Tell us, man. We want to know.
He's McCrae.
He's McCrae. Robbie G is McCrae. Tell us, man. Well, actually, the more popular ones and the more densely populated whiskey region is the Speyside one. And sorry, I needed to give some more examples I'll give more examples of the other whiskeys later on. But in Speyside, you'll find loads of whiskeys. There's like loads of distilleries. And then Robbie G says, no idea, granddad.
Hey, we got some more. Dan Norman says a bunad means the original in Gaelic.
There you go. And that's from Aberlour, and that's a Speyside whiskey.
Yeah.
That one, I want to taste that one now, man. I wish somebody would give me a gift.
Intent. He also says, appreciate you guys. Love hearing the info exchange every weekend. Party has lasted 45 years. That's right. Me and Dan have done a lot of partying. One of my favorite people.
Oh, word? Man, we got to keep that party going, man. Even in COVID times. Pandemic times, man.
Let's see if we got any other people chiming in.
Yeah.
I think this is from a previous episode. Let's see. Wonderful World of Whiskeys. I think you already read that one. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, that covers it for now. And please keep chiming in with your preferences. We'd love to hear more about what you guys are drinking, and any comments that you have. We'll read them out on the show and talk about it. So you said that we're going to take a step back to the Speyside.
Yeah. No, let's just talk about some of the examples again of the Highland whiskey, because I didn't even mention any of the Highland whiskey ones. I talked about some of the ones in Islay, like Cole, Islay, and Ardbeg. But the Highland whiskeys include Aberfeldy. Aberfeldy is one of those sweet ones that a lot of people say tastes like honey. I've visited Aberfeldy. I haven't been to the distillery, but I have been in Aberfeldy. Beautiful place. As you can imagine, what the Highlands of Scotland will potentially look like, So again, Aberfeldy whiskey, I have some of that here. Very tasty. Glenmorangie, in my opinion, you cannot go wrong with I hope I'm not butchering the way I'm saying it. Glenmorangie. You cannot go wrong with that one. They have one called Quinta Ruban, which is in Spanish sherry oak cask.
Ooh.
Man, if you ever have to give a whiskey to someone as a gift, you cannot go wrong with that one, man.
What was that?
Cannot go wrong with that one. Glenmorangie, Quinta Ruban, 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 Spanish sherry oak casks. You cannot go wrong with that one, my friend. Trust me.
I think I would try that one.
Trust me, that one's really delicious. No, not at all. Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all, man. That was amazing.
And the one that's sweet, like, do you know how they impart that flavor? Is in the rum world, you can add molasses and sugars and whatnot to take the burn down. Do you know? Is that
See,
allowed?
That's the thing. I think when you're in the whole process of the Scotch whiskey, of the whiskey happening, it's all natural, right? So in theory, you shouldn't be adding stuff to it.
Right. Keep
like
it pure.
molasses or any of that stuff. Keep it pure. But in my conversations with people in the liquor industry, some of them have been just kind of like, it's all part of the marketing.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
A lot of wines these days have powders and flavorings added to them, which a lot of people don't know about. And it stains your teeth.
Yeah, totally. So I mean, I really don't know. Hopefully it's all natural, but yeah, again, it's anybody's guess, to be honest.
I mean, as long as it tastes good.
Yeah.
But natural ingredients, where you don't want any like chemically stuff added in there.
Exactly. No, and I think as far as I know, everything, all the whiskeys at least, should be they maintain their whole natural process of how they're made, and and the stills and everything that goes along with making them and distributing them.
I think we skipped a step. We were supposed to talk about the differences in the uses of stills, right? Between the different.
True that. Where is that? Now I'm looking at my notes, man.
The barleys, the malted barleys are pot stills, and the wheats, when you use wheats, I believe, are column stills when you're distilling the whiskey. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you find that.
Let me see.
Yeah, I'll look for it. You keep taking us on the tour.
Sorry, man. I got like, whoa. Anyways,
we're gonna get thirsty. We don't want the people to get thirsty.
We don't want nobody getting thirsty. So yeah, man, those are the Highland malts. So Speyside, again, you're gonna have some Aberlour, like the one that Dan mentioned. You're gonna have some Cartu. You're gonna have some Valvine, which is what Ingrid mentioned earlier on in the week, where she was mentioning some of her favorite whiskeys. Glenlivet, again, which is a personal favorite. Like I said, you used to be able to find the 12-year-old single malt here for $28. Not so much anymore. Macallan is a very popular whiskey as well that a lot of people really, really enjoy. And I think, there's a lot of very, very good Speyside whiskeys. It's one of the most densely populated whiskey regions in the world. You have fertile glens and the River Spey, which feeds all of these distilleries. Glens, my friend. Glens, man, I don't know if it's just the amount of whiskey I've been drinking or what, but no, I just forgot what a glen is. Glen, I want to say, are valleys. Ben is a valley. Yes, I was right. A glen is a valley. A ben is a mountain. A glen is a valley.
Did not know that.
Now you know.
Yeah.
It's a valley, dog. It's a valley. Fertile valleys and the River Spey. The Speyside whiskeys, they don't have that much peat, so you might like them. And they're full of fruit, man.
Like poached pears.
Wow. You can find the poached pears on there. You can find apple. You can find honey, vanilla, spice. They all are common in these areas.
Cereal is often a flavor in whiskeys.
You might be able to find what's that one Tricks, dude? Lucky Rabbit, Silly Rabbit. Tricks are for kids.
And maybe some Lucky Charms marshmallow in there.
So Lucky Charms. I mean, you never know. As long as you can find those Lucky Charms marshmallows in sherry casks, you'll find them. It's Speyside whiskeys, man.
I just got word back from the research department. You're correct. Malt whiskey has to be distilled in pot stills. Grain whiskey is usually made in column stills. So that's another differentiation between the blends.
True that, man. True that. And it's I've seen the ones for the single malts. I remember when I was in Oban, seeing the copper pot stills for the single malt, man. That is incredible. That is amazing. I mean, the whole process is so scientific. I don't know. I wish now that I would have been smart enough when I was younger to say, I want to study the science behind, whiskeys or rum or whatever. We could have been master distillers, dude.
It's still not too late. We're spending a lot of time at home. We can start distilling now.
That is true.
I'm about to have a bunch of mangoes, so I'm going to make some mango brandy. That's what I'm going to do.
You should make some mango brandy. I actually made my own blend of whiskey, which I have right here.
And what do you call that?
I called it the Mosquito blend.
The Mosquito blend.
It's not peaty. I'm sure you would like it. That's not peaty at all. Doesn't smell peaty. It's very sweet. Very sweet.
What was your decision in blending them, and what did you find as a result?
Well, actually, I had a conversation with Robert Martin from Intimo Restaurant because I saw that they had a house blend at Intimo, and I was like, "What do you mean you guys have a house blend?" And he said that he would mix them until he got to a flavor that he liked. So I was like, I could do that. So then, I had different bottles which had different amounts, and I was like, I'm just gonna start mixing them until I get something I like. And then I ended up with, it's not smoky at all, which is good, and it's just something that you can enjoy on a warm summery afternoon.
Now, did you find new things once you blended them together?
I think it sort of enhanced it. I think they were all sort of Speyside whiskeys, so I think it just kind of enhanced the flavor. But I didn't really, So I didn't really find anything new that I didn't know about before. I didn't discover any hidden flavors like mango or tamarindo or anything like that.
Raspado.
Raspado. But yeah, man, it was a good experience, and good to know you could do it too and not be like ashamed of yourself for doing something like,
yeah. I mean, I think that's a new thing to have your house blend, and I applaud it. I remember growing up, I didn't know much about whiskeys, and rum is kind of no man's land. So
yeah,
I think it's interesting the way that you can, just choose. Maybe you choose two of your favorites and you blend them to a certain mixture.
Yeah.
Have something completely new that you can experiment with.
I mean, especially because if you think about it, you can find some really cheap. No, let me rephrase that. You can find some economical whiskeys out there because they're not necessarily cheap. I mean, taste wise, and you can make your own blend. You can make your own blend, and then bam, you got the HB house blend.
I like it.
Hey, I've got a HB house blend. HB.
That's what HB stands for. I love it. Genius. I've got a friend, and I made fun of him. He runs his half gallon of Ron Abuelo through a Brita filter. And oh my gosh, you know how Zonians are. We blasted the crap out of him. We're making fun of it. And then finally we had one of our Christmas parties where we're all getting together, and he brought it and he's like, "This is for you to try." And I tried it, and I'll be damned. I apologized to him on the spot. I was like, "Man, I apologize for all the ribbing I gave you, but this tastes a lot better. It made it taste more like a 7-year-old, it intensified the symptoms. And that is actually, there's precedent for that in the liquor world. You have Jose Cuervo Cristal, which is passed through carbon filters, and it brings out this intense cinnamon flavor. So, making your own blends, I don't think is as frowned upon as it might have been before, because a lot of people are, using some home tech to get the flavors that they want.
I mean, and the way things are going, technology is making it a lot easier for us to achieve a lot of these flavors, a lot of these smells, a lot of these sensations that maybe our ancestors needed time to make them happen, right? Yeah. And now we're just like
time, right? It's like the master distillers knew that this certain flavor would come out in 20 years if you age it in a Spanish, cask that had Madeira, I read an article, and also I wanted to mention, like, you have the home brew. Home brew is very popular. You brew your own beer. So I read an article about how this scientist, he wanted to crack the secrets of whiskey. So he applied the flavors to like an electron microscope, and he got all the flavor profiles, and he started experimenting with pressure, and he was able to recreate a 10-year-old in and around 3 weeks using his new process, and without any chemicals. It was naturally done by varying the pressure and whatnot. But it also mentioned that because of the home brew revolution, that a lot of the malt necessary, there's a shortage of malt and malted barley, and so he switched from recreating whiskeys to recreating rums because it's fairly easy to get a hold of the molasses, which is the precursor. Anyway, that's my nerd tangent.
That's very interesting. Hey, if anybody out there is doing crazy stuff with whiskey, let us know, because we'd love to taste it.
Send us a bottle. Yeah,
Send us a bottle of your home blend.
we'd
I
love
mean,
to try
come
it.
on. We would love to try it, man.
Where are we on the tour? Have we completed the tour?
So, no. So we've been to the lowlands. We talked about Glenkinchie, Edenmill, Holyrood, which is where the Queen has her residence in Scotland. They have a distillery as well. So we went to Speyside, we went to Isla, we went to the Highlands. We took in the Scottish breezes and just visited the Highland coos, all the beautiful coos that live in the Highlands. And there was one specific region which I didn't really know about. I've never tried a whiskey from here, and it is called Campbellton or Campbelltown. Campbelltown. There's whiskeys. The whiskeys here, examples: Glen Scotia, Glen Guile. So apparently the whiskeys here are like, they got mad flavor. You'll find hints of salt, smoke, fruit, vanilla, and toffee. I have never ever tried a whiskey from Campbelltown. And as far as I'm aware, Diageo does not have a distillery there, because whenever Diageo, right now they're doing this thing called like the Four Corners of Scotland, which has the Highlands, the Lowlands, Isla, and Speyside. So I guess if they had one there, it would be the Five Corners of Scotland. Not so much.
I don't know if the viewers at home can see, but right in between Isla and the lowlands, which is blue and brown respectively, is right in the middle. There's like a peninsula of Campbellton.
Yeah.
So that's where these Campbelltown.
So you can find whiskeys there as well. And I mean, I don't know if I've seen any whiskeys from Campbellton here in Panama. Glen Scotia, I've heard that name before, but I've never tried it, and now I'm gonna want to look for it somewhere whenever I am out and about. Because the only ones, when you do a search, Glen Scotia, Glen Guile, and Springbank. Do any of those sound familiar to you?
No, that's kind of not my. This is not my party, So I don't know much. I'm completely in your hands, Joe.
Yeah, no. So I mean, neither, man. The bottles look beautiful though. I'm seeing some of them right now on the internet. But who knows? I'm pretty sure you could find one here in Panama.
Take a look. I'm ready to take this journey with you, Joe.
You could probably find them in Panama, but not. I mean, I've seen every single other type of whiskey that there is to see. I found it here. I mean, I was floored when I saw bottles of Aberfeldy at Felipe Mota. That was one of the things that I was least expecting to see. But I guess, it goes to show that I guess maybe the Panamanian consumer's palate has grown over the years. Maybe their mind has expanded to different types of whiskeys. Because, I'd seen Balvenie in the past. I've seen it here several times. I've never seen Edredor. I have never, ever seen Edredor here. That's one of the ones that I've never seen.
The rings.
Yeah. Mordor whiskey, 10-year-old.
Yeah.
So that one, I've never seen that one here. Old Pulteney, I've seen it here, as I said earlier. I've seen Glengoyne here. Oban, you can get that one here. You can get Glenmorangie here, Glenmorangie. I mean, it is incredible. Glenlivet, Glenfiddich, which is also super popular, and they're doing some amazing things. The Glenfiddich people, Macallan as well. That one is very popular. You can find very different variations of Macallan. I mean, it's ridiculous. I think if you wanted whiskey, you could go get it wherever you want, man. It's ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Just a quick step outside of Scotland. You mentioned very briefly Japanese whiskey. Is there any other whiskeys that maybe we should keep our radar tuned towards?
Well, of course, you have the whiskeys from Ireland, like the Jameson. That one's very popular. That one's very good. I've tried that one as well. Very smooth, most definitely. I know a lot of people that love that one, so that one is also very good. I think Japan, I've been lucky enough to be able to try some of the whiskey from Japan. I just finished one off recently, which I forget what it was called, but I have this one, which was given to me as a gift. Hibiki. Really good whiskey. Totally recommended.
Now, does Japan have its flavor profiles, or it's just they're experimenting and they're trying to make the best thing? What's the deal with Japan?
I think they're just experimenting and trying to make the best thing. I don't think you can, as far as I'm aware,
Right.
I don't think you can separate it by region or anything like that. I think they're just so into the whiskey industry themselves that they're just kind of trying to make good quality products. I even actually, speaking of poached pears, I actually have this one here, which was given to me as a gift. And earlier on in the pandemic, during the ley seca, I was really just going through my collection. This one is called Penderin, and this one is actually Welsh.
All right.
This one is called Penderin, and this one is Welsh whiskey.
Huh.
I had no idea they made whiskey in Wales. I was given this as a gift by someone, and I actually had it untouched until earlier in the pandemic with the ley seca, and we couldn't purchase stuff. So, you know, every now and then you needed a little tipple, a little drink. And in this one, HB,
Yeah.
I was actually, I smell toffee.
You smell it.
I smell toffee. I'll put it here next to the microphone. Poached pears.
You tasted poached pears in there.
I tasted poached pears. I even smelled, I think that is, I smell the pears. I smell them. It's crazy. I can. It's ridiculous.
That's my favorite. When I go to Germany, my mother-in-law she likes this special schnapps from Switzerland, which is made from pears. Man, that stuff is good, man.
Yeah.
So pears is one of my favorite flavors in alcohol as far as fruits. You know, bananas and pears are usually the on the top of the flavor profile.
Well, I think in that one, I don't know if it's in the favorite profile or not, but I can smell the pears, you know, and it's not often that I will be able to tell you like, dude, I smell the pears, because it's always a running joke like poached pears. But, you know,
you've tasted it, you smelled it.
Yes,
it's not a joke anymore. You have experience with the pears.
Yes, and that is why I cannot bring myself to finish it, because I'm just like, it tasted the pears, dog.
When I go over there, can I have an eyedropper of that?
You can.
I want to experience the pears.
Hey, totally, man. It's amazing. It's remarkable. I just don't really. I wasn't expecting it to happen, but it just it happened when I needed it to happen. I guess to kind of revive my faith in the whiskey industry.
Are there any other flavors that jumped out at you that kind of made you fall in love more with whiskey?
I think whenever I'm drinking it and then all of a sudden the smell of toffee in the glass, you know, because you're there and you're just like, because you want to, you know, as a whiskey drinker, as a whiskey lover, you know, the whole thing, and you're there and you're drinking and you're like, oh, I don't smell anything. I just smell alcohol. I just taste alcohol. But then when you're there and then all of a sudden you feel the toffee, right? Or maybe you get an aftertaste and you're like, chocolate, because usually you'll feel it here, and this has happened to me with rum as well, that you'll feel like the aftertaste of like dark chocolate and you're like, I tasted it.
Like in a
yeah, that's right. You're just like, man, I never knew that. Like, wow, I felt it. It was there. It was real.
Awesome.
You know, I guess it's happened to, has it happened to you?
Oh, for sure. Like one of my friends, every year he would give me a bottle of it's been too long. It's a 21-year-old from Costa Rica rum.
That one is that's super popular, man. That one is I don't remember, man. But yeah.
The whiskey's starting to take effect, brother.
Seriously, memories.
What we did is we had a bottle of 12-year-old Abuelo. We had a Centenario from Costa Rica.
Right.
Comes in a straw package. And then this 21-year-old Solara. It has a Z in it somewhere. The title, I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, we did a blind taste test. All the women were in charge of keeping track, and the men who thought they were such experts in rum. We picked the Abuelo over 50% of the time, so we declared that one the winner. So the 12-year-old, which was $16, beat out the Zacapa. That's what it's called.
Zacapa. There you go. That's Guatemalan, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Guatemalan. So
Zacapa.
So then after that, then you go, me and my father-in-law, we try to figure out what the difference is between the 7-year-old abuelo and the 12-year-old abuelo. And we figured it out is that the flavor profile with the 7-year-old, they both start the same.
Right.
Have the same initial tastes. And then the 7-year-old stays kind of the same. Whereas the 12-year-old keeps developing. It keeps getting more and more flavors.
Right.
You get things like cinnamon and caramel and like you said, in the back of your throat. It's kind of like once the burn goes down, and you get over the initial strong flavors, you get things developing in the back of your palate.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And I think Zacapa is one of these rums that's like really well regarded. And the times I've been to Guatemala, whenever I've been there with colleagues or whatever, they always want to buy Zacapa in Guatemala. And I'm just like, why are you buying it in Guatemala when you can buy it in Panama? Because it's readily available here anywhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it is a tasty rum. It is a tasty rum.
Yeah.
But no, I think our rums here are they're good, man. I mean, straight up. I don't know how else to say it. They're good. They're good.
So now that you're back home, do you have rum hungers like you did when you were living in Scotland?
Not really, man. I think not at all. I think I'm here. It's readily available. I know I can get it whenever I want. I think now it's just one of those things where I really kind of I like discovering different things about it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things like I think we were talking about before where it was just kind of like, oh man, I can't have the Ron Abuelo Añejo anymore. I want to have the Siete Años.
Yeah.
So let me give myself that. Because, we were younger. It was like Añejo was it.
Yeah. they've had since the pandemic started, they've been selling the 12-year-old for $24.
Yeah.
It's insane. So I've been treating myself to that. You'll probably see that from many of the episodes. You'll see that.
So you just kind of like, why not?
Yeah.
Why not treat myself to that?
Well, I was just in mentally, I was thinking, I think one of the fun things, because when you showed us your bar collection, you said this was a gift, so
yeah.
So it's like a collectible,
Yeah.
having different types from different regions and exploring and then keeping your collection.
Yeah.
That's also one of the fun things about Scotch whiskeys.
No, for sure. And it keeps you, and I think it helps you kind of keep, and whenever you think about it, you have this nice memory, right? Of like the person that gave it to you, or maybe the connection that you shared at that time or something. I don't know. Like I remember one of my colleagues that left at work several years ago, he was the one that gave me that bottle of the Welsh whiskey, and I would keep it in the office. And then before he left, I remember there was one night where we were both kind of working late. And then we were just like, hey, let's have a drink. So we just kind of sat in one of the meeting rooms and, poured a little bit and just talking smack or whatever. And it was really nice. Yeah. But it was really nice just to share that moment. Because, sometimes when you're like in a working environment, it's very difficult to create sort of like meaningful relationships with people. It's all very professional. So It was just very nice to be able to kind of share that moment. And he liked whiskey and I like whiskey, and just talking about it, that it was really nice. But yeah, and it's just, it's very cool. And also, like, say this one, like the Glenkinchie, since it's called the Edinburgh malt, it always reminds me of Edinburgh, and Edinburgh obviously holds a very special place in my heart. So, having a bottle of that kind of keeps me connected to this place where I
any flavors that come to mind when you drink it.
Let me see. Well, let me smell it. Let me see if I can smell anything. Toffee.
Really?
Yes.
I was rooting for poached peaches.
Poached no. Pears. Let me just pour myself a little bit more of this. It's toffee, man. And it's very interesting because, again, I've had conversations with people all the time. And they'll be like, a lot of people, they'll be like, how do you, like, when I go to Scotland, they'd be like, how do you want your whiskey? And I'd be like, oh, just a splash of water. Like, some people will want it simple. Some people will want it, neat. Some people will want it with like maybe one ice cube. Some people will want to have like a splash of water in it. They'll give you this sort of thing here. It's funny because you go to bars, right? And they'll give you this entire, of course, I used to carry other things, but they'll give you this entire pitcher with water, and then you'll be drinking your whiskey and you'll be adding some water, right? Because that helps to open up the flavors and the aromas and all these things. It's really remarkable, man. Like I couldn't, just the way that many different people like to enjoy their whiskeys is incredible. And it's led me to believe that, you know, everyone's taste is their own personal taste. Like I can't tell you like, oh, HB, the way you drink your rum or your whiskey or whatever is terrible. I mean, unless you did something totally ridiculous that goes outside of the bounds of what society considers normal. But then again, it's what you like, right?
I guess so. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Like, you know, even mixing the 7-year-old with Coke. Why would you do that to something that's spent 7 years in a barrel, but it's damn tasty? And then, you know, just going back to bourbon and Coke is delicious. My goodness.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things of personal taste. And even when I was making my whiskey Collins, I was reading about it because I'd never made one before, and I thought, well, today seems like as good a day as any to make one of these. I thought initially, my main thought was I'm not going to use an expensive whiskey on this.
Right.
But then one of the notes I read as I was going through the recipe, it said, you know, there's nowhere for the taste to hide. You know, you're using whiskey, lemon juice, and sparkling water. So if you use a whiskey that you don't consider to taste as good as the other ones, it's not going to taste that great. Right. So don't skimp on the whiskey. And I was like, whoa, because a lot of people think if I'm going to mix my whiskey with something, I'm going to use, say, Johnny Walker Red, which is what people consider the lowest of the low when it comes to whiskeys. Yeah, I mean,
what do you taste when you drink Johnny Walker Red? Chancleta?
You do. Rubber chancleta. Like old used rubber chancleta that's been floating in the ocean for 20 years.
The salt air comes back. Yeah, I guess I need to get over that because you know, when we had Robbie on the show, I've been applying the principles they told us. He's like, the best place to start is to make your own simple sugars, your own simple syrups. And I've really been enjoying that. And you know, I have so many lemons, so I've been mixing. I get the sirope de caña. It's just boiled down cane sugar until it turns into syrup. And so it's half a lemon, a little cane, and then I have a real daiquiri, an original daiquiri with rum, you know?
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things. I remember you sent me a recipe for a whiskey with apple juice a couple of months ago, and I have been enjoying the heck out of that. Like, I didn't realize I was going to like it as much as I do. Like Friday night, if I have nothing else, like if I'm just sitting around relaxing, I'm like, oh, I could have something really cool and stuff. And I'll have my whiskey with my apple juice, my sparkling water, mix it up. It's amazing, dude. It's amazing. And I think people are always under this mentality, like, how dare you mix a single malt with something? It's like, whatever, dude. It's my drink. I'll do what I want.
Yeah, I mean, we could say the same thing, like making mimosas, right? You're mixing some champagne with orange juice. So I think I need to get over that outdated thought of not mixing my 7-year-old rums with anything. You know, anything above 7 years shouldn't touch anything but rocks. So I'm gonna now that I'm turning 45, that's gonna be my decision. I'm gonna use 12-year-old rum and mix it and see how delicious that is.
You should. Hey, maybe you have some 12-year-old soda that you find in your house. You know, some Coke from like 19.
I do. My dad went on a round the world cruise and he brought one back from Saipan or something. I don't know.
Well, there you go, man. Mix that in. Hey, you might discover the latest, most amazing drink, and you can sell it for like $2,000 a pop.
Or I'll die of botulism.
Well, you'll die of botulism. Either way, you'll get it eventually.
That thing is rusty as all hell, but the bottle's really cool. It's got the Coca-Cola wave, but it with the native alphabet.
Oh wow, well, that's cool, man. I don't know, man. You might have to try it, dog. You might have to try it and tell us. We could do it live on Rapscallions.
Matthew Dreckman is leaving some comments. He said, caught the beginning, heard Agewood. Good job. Because I don't know if I told you that story. We found a bottle in the back of my dad's bar, and it was a bottle of aged wood, and it said bottled in the Canal Zone, which he was obviously keeping as an heirloom because the Canal Zone didn't
No
exist anymore.
way.
So we put the kibosh on that thing. We drank it.
Bottled in the Canal Zone.
Yeah.
How
He also
many?
says you got to get it in a podcast form. All right. Now that one of the listeners has said it, we definitely had to do it. We've been talking about doing it, so now it's going to get done.
One of the fam scallions reaching out, saying what's what.
Mm-hmm.
No, totally, man, totally. You know, I think during this pandemic, just so that I can mention it before we end the show, I'm conscious that we have like 20 minutes left. One of the bottles of whiskey which I was most excited to get during the pandemic. So Glenfiddich has been doing some amazing things. They had this thing called the experimental series, right? And I think I talked to you about this at some point earlier on. So one of the things they did was Glenfiddich Project XX, which I'm gonna say stands for 20
or X-Men.
Or X-Men. I'm gonna say 20, right? So they had this whiskey right here. This is one of the ones in the series. This one right here. So they had 20 master malt masters. So this is like taking 20 Robert Martins, okay? Wow. 20, and taking them to a distillery and then letting them choose the flavor, you know, like the cask that they most enjoy of all the whiskeys that were maturing, right? And then they created this thing.
So there's 20 collaborators.
20 collaborators to make the flavor of this thing. And I think, first of all, I just think the bottle is amazing. I think it's beautiful. I think this thing is like fantastic.
On that?
Yeah.
Very nice. What's that thing on the bottom? I see the antlers.
It's a fingerprint.
Oh, wow.
It's a fingerprint. This thing is amazing. I think I've tasted it once. I was going to taste it right now, but I've been using that glass for the Glenkinchie, so I don't want to like mix it up. But according to the notes, you know, it has a lot of woody, spicy notes, toffee, and orange peel, you know, on the nose. On the palate, you get wood, cloves, cinnamon, vanilla, wood, again, with some sweet fudge notes.
Oh.
Fudge. And then the finish.
Wood.
And the what's that?
No, nothing.
and the finish is espresso and dark chocolate.
Ooh.
So if that doesn't sound amazing, I don't know what is. I think when we're done, I'm gonna go get myself a clean glass and have a little bit because now I'm just like feeding for it. And then they came out with another one. They came out with several actually. And there's one called Fire and Cane, which I am waiting for that one to get here. And that one, check out what it's on the nose. Soft peat notes, like a distant smoke on the wind. Rich, sweet toffee with zesty fruit notes and spiciness. And then on the palate, like a highland peat campfire with oak notes and toffee, sharp green fruit, sweet baked apple, and soft smoke. And then finish, lingering smokiness and sweetness. That is right up my alley. That's the Fire and Cane one. It hasn't come out here as far as I'm aware. But I'm waiting for it. And they have another one which was mixed. Sorry?
Now the Fam Scallion knows what to send their favorite hosts.
I know. I mean, HB would love to get that one for his 45th birthday.
He would love it. Peaty for me. I don't know.
He said, I love the peatiness. I love the peatiness. And there's even one that they did in an IPA cask finish for all of the, you know, India Pale Ale aficionados out there. And there was even another one, which I haven't purchased because it was too rich for my blood, man. But it was like it was done in French champagne, like barrels or something like that.
Yeah.
And that one was upwards of like, I think it was like $200. And I was like,
oh my goodness. What's the most you've ever spent on a bottle of whiskey?
$60.
Is that your cap? That's your limit?
Yeah.
And
I don't.
As some of those whiskeys that you got gifted, did you ever price check them?
No, I think they're all about the same price around there. Yeah. I've never spent more than $60. I think it was actually the Oban for my birthday this past year. I said, I'm going to treat myself. So
Yeah.
I bought that one, and that was it. I was like, I'm not going over. Because the thing is, like what I was saying earlier, you can find so many great single malts here for $30, $40.
That's your sweet spot then.
Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations? Like, what's like a good everyday whiskey that someone can try out? Maybe they want to get more into whiskeys. What would you recommend? What?
Oh, hold on. Give me 1 second. Let me just Google this here really quickly. Because there's quite a lot. There's actually one that is there's one which I'd never heard of before until I came to Panama and I saw it here. And then I found out it was a lowland whiskey. It's called, I don't even know how to pronounce this. Auschkin Tushan. Auschkin Tushan. Anyways, AUCHENTOSHAN. This is a lowland single malt. You can find this at like Reba Smith or Felipe Mota for like $35. Then there's another one called Tomatin. And this one, again, you can find this one for $35 at Felipe Mota. Again, a single malt, delicious. It's incredible how just, the quality of the drink is fantastic. And these are two single malt whiskeys, which are really, 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 really good. The Tomatin, I don't even know if I'm saying it right. Tomatin. You can get a 12-year-old. Fabulous. I had a bottle of this. I finished it. Really good stuff. The other one I said, Glenfiddich. You can't go wrong with that. Glenmorangie. That one, I think the one I mentioned, the Quinta Ruban one, must be about $45 to $50. You'll not be sorry with that one at all, man. That one is amazing.
For you, what is your opinion on something like Old Par?
I'll drink it.
But I mean, it's like $60 a bottle. Is it good? Is it fine?
I think you can get better stuff than that. Again, this is me being snooty, but Old Par is a blend, right? So it's, you have grains in there. You have maize, you'll have rye, and you'll have malt, barley. If that's your style, then go for it. Old Par is one of these things which is very mass produced, I think. They make it a lot, and you can tell from all the promotional materials that there are behind this. This is one of those things which is just like, have a good time, drink Old Par, or like Chivas Regal as well, I think is one of these, which I think is mass produced.
So is there within the experts of whiskey, is that kind of turned? Is it, you kind of turn your nose to those, or what?
It's very interesting that you would ask that, because actually when I was in Scotland, I would never ever see bottles of Johnny Walker in the shops I would go to. And they would tell me because nobody would drink those there.
So what it's just the international marketing then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, if you were to give me a bottle of Old Par, I would drink it. I wouldn't be like, oh, HB, you're insulting me with this bottle.
You wouldn't take your glove off and slap me with it?
Challenge you to a duel.
So do you have a group of friends that are kind of like whiskey connoisseurs?
I don't actually. I don't. I mean, I think people like to drink whiskey. I know people that will say if you give them an expensive whiskey, it's a good whiskey, which I disagree with, because I don't think just because the whiskey is expensive, it's good. And then people that will tell me, oh, such and such is such thing. And I'll be like, no, it's such thing. And then I'll see them again 2 months later and they'll be like, such and such is such thing. And I'll be like, no, it's such thing.
So Old Par and is kind of like the pop culture whiskey.
I think so. I mean, I think especially here because it's so popular and you can find it anywhere. And if I was at a party and they had Old Par, I'd drink it.
Sure. I've gone to weddings and they're like, open Old Par. I'm like, whoop, I'm drinking whiskey tonight.
I mean, you're there at a party. You're not there to sit around and be all like, oh, I can taste the poached pears.
So I think the lesson here is spirits are meant to be enjoyed.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I think it's one of those things where you just kind of, find what you like Of course, enjoy the craftsmanship that goes into it. I mean,
Mm.
obviously, I think the master distillers, when they're putting this together, it's obviously art. You don't want to take away from any of it, but ultimately, you can enjoy it in the way that you want to enjoy it the most. Sorry, Mo just did his business, and I was checking to see what he did because now he's lying here next to me. But
Well,
I think it's
what's
about
Mo's favorite whiskey?
Mo likes his whiskey. Mo likes water. He likes the water from the whiskey.
He's like, I would like a shot of whiskey with water. Hold the whiskey.
That's right. Actually, once I gave a pug rum. Not a good experience.
No.
She slurped it, and then she was like, and then she hid under a chair. So I was like, okay,
Not a friend of mine.
never give a dog rum.
We gave the dog beer and tequila one time, and then I guess it enjoyed it because then it would, if you weren't looking, he would knock beer table and drink them. It looks like we lost our connectivity here for the internet. So just to recap what we were talking about, we did a little tour of the different areas in Scotland. We have the Speyside, which is known. It's a most densely populated whiskey region in the world, famous for fertile glens and, of course, the River Spey. Speyside whiskeys are known for being frugal with peat. Thank you.
I'm back.
And full of he's back.
What did I miss?
I was just recapping the tour of Scotland.
Yes. Please carry on.
So I was just reading off the excellent notes that you made this morning and shared with me. So if you're looking for something that's not peaty like me, then you're probably looking for a Speyside. If you're looking for something sweeter with more caramels and flavors and like that, you're gonna look for a lowland. If you like the peat, if you like the smokiness, you need to go for an Isla. And let's see, Highland. A big diversity in flavor. So I guess you can go through all the highlands and find something until you find something you enjoy. And then Campbelltown is the one that Joe hasn't tried, but the characteristics on this are varied and full of flavor, hints of salt, smoke, fruit, vanilla, toffee.
I think if I had to recommend one from the Highlands, I would definitely recommend Aberfeldy.
Okay.
Hands down, without a doubt, Aberfeldy. That one is.
What's the average on a bottle like that of Aberfeldy?
I would think 12-year-old is maybe $50 at Felipe Mota.
Wow.
I think so. If you want to treat yourself,
that's top shelf.
Yeah, if you want to treat yourself, 12-year-old, $50. So wait for like a decimo, and then be like, I'm going big.
Yeah. Sure.
Go treat yourself.
Grandma's your birthday present. Use that money.
Buy yourself an Aberfeldy. But then that's the thing. Then you don't want to finish it right away, right? I'm very stingy with my whiskeys. I want to have like a little bit, and then I'll drink it. And then when I see that there's like this much left, I'll be like, I don't want to touch it.
That's how I am with cigars. I always want to save them for a special occasion and end up not smoking. I should just smoke them when I want. Do you enjoy cigars with your whiskey?
I do. I actually haven't had cigars in years. And it's funny that you mentioned that because our good friend Nemo, Ricardo Agurcia, who was with us on the end of the year show, for my wedding in 2018, he brought me a box of cigars. And for some reason, again, Robert Martin from Intimo Restaurant kept my box of cigars. But it was just well enough because I kept a decanter. Remember the decanter that he brought to the room, which had this delicious dark chocolate rum in it?
Yeah.
I kept that decanter. So I finally gave him back that decanter maybe in the middle of 2020, and he finally gave me back my cigars at the end of the year of 2020. So I have the cigars.
Cigars missing?
No, they're all there.
Okay.
So I'm still waiting.
Left in the decanter.
Sorry?
There's no liquid left in the decanter?
No. We finished it that night. We finished
stuff.
We finished it. I had someone who was coming up to the room when we were there, and she was like, Jose, it smelled like you guys had a distillery in there. Like I could smell the liquor down the hall. I was like, all right, man.
That's how we do.
That's how we do, man. That's how we do. But no, I have the cigars there, and I don't know. I don't want to smoke them on my own. and not here as well in a building, because living in a building, if I sit on my balcony and I smoke them, people are gonna be like, someone's smoking. So
Go to the rooftop in Costco next time I'm in town.
that's right,
Get
dog.
yourself a 12-year-old abuelo.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you bring a couple drams of fancy whiskey.
Fancy.
Smoke some cigars.
That's right, man. And then we won't bother anyone, man. Just enjoy ourselves.
Truth. So you gave us an expensive Highland whiskey. And you said there's some 35-year-olds that are $35 ones. What regions are those?
35-year-olds would be super expensive, dude. Super expensive. No, I think, like I said, the Glenmorangie, those are great. You cannot go wrong with that blend, with that brand, man, with that distillery. For me, if I have to give someone a gift, I know that I'm gonna hit a home run with that one.
Now, what about food pairings? When you drink whiskey, do you think of foods that it'll go well with, or?
It's funny because sometimes I usually go with dark chocolate or cashew nuts, one or the other,
Or haggis?
Or haggis. Well, tomorrow I'm going to go with veggie haggis.
Well, that's the thing. I was just thinking, like, if you're drinking this really fancy whiskey, then you should have some fancy food. But those Scots, they set the bar low with the stuffed intestine.
I mean, seriously, you could have potatoes, like boiled potatoes, and you're still a champion.
Turnips and whiskey. That's
You can't go wrong, man. But no, I can't, not mention Johnny Walker Green Label. I love it. It's my favorite. I think it's amazing. And I think what's amazing about it is just that it's 4 single malts blended. So then when you drink it, you can actually, I haven't managed to do this yet, taste the 4 corners of Diageo.
wow.
Yeah, Diageo in Scotland.
Corny. I want them to add a 5th corner.
They should add a 5th, but I guess we have to convince them to buy a distillery in Campbellton.
I'll talk to some people.
I'm telling you, man, it's crazy.
We're coming up on 4:56. Do you have any final wisdom to share? No, we don't want your words of peace and wisdom. We want final tips and tricks for someone who's getting into whiskey.
For someone who's getting into whiskey, take your time, trust yourself, and just go for what you like. I think it's very easy to let yourself be taken away by the people around you, and let you be influenced by what they like and what they tell you. And I think, just because someone tells you something's good doesn't mean it's going to be good unless you like it. So just like whatever you want to like, man. I think ultimately that's what it is, right?
Yeah, I like the cheap stuff.
Hey, the rare, but it's rare.
It's rare.
It's super rare. So, just enjoy what you want to enjoy. I think ultimately that's what it is. Yeah, man, I don't know. I think we're too caught up in being fancy.
Right. Like, the part of the fun is doing the investigation, is learning. And like, I think the moment for me that really stood out is when you discovered a new flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So go out there, try something, get some recommendations, and then you're going to have that epiphany moment. I remember the first time I had a really good cigar. I was smoking cheap cigars because I was a kid. I didn't know any better. I thought I was looking tough. And someone saw me smoking this cheap cigar, and they came over and they put a nice cigar in my pocket, and I smoked that thing, and I was like, oh my God.
What difference, right?
Thing is, like, my mind was completely blown.
Yeah.
And smoking them with rum, different types of rums and whiskeys, it completely changes everything. Like,
yeah,
that's my problem. I want to add my own smoke. I don't need the peatiness. I don't need the smokiness. So just to recap, go out there, try some stuff, keep your mind open so that you're open to those new flavor sensations. And we want to thank everyone that's tuned in and given their commentary on what they like to drink. Now, Joe, hit us with some knowledge, unless you have something else you want to say.
Well, actually, no, I just want to give a quick shout out to the people that contributed to our Rapscallion survey. We did a survey before the show started where we were asking people if they preferred smoky whiskey or sweet whiskey. Sweet whiskey won by far.
I tried it twice, but it wouldn't let me.
People don't like the smokiness. Now, if I can, HB, I think in honor of Robert Burns, Burns Night tomorrow. If I could read a poem from Robert Burns,
Do it.
I'll
Drop
read a poem
poetry on us.
because he was a lyricist just like the Rapscallions. So I gotta drop some lyrics. This is called Such a Parcel of Rogues in a Nation, and this was written after Scotland had to join England to form the United Kingdom because of the Darien disaster.
We have an episode on that. Scroll down. Joe took us on a whole tour through the Scottish when they tried to colonize the Darien in Panama. Amazing show.
So he was really upset because he was like, man, some of the Scotsmen that sold us out to the English, and now we have to join our enemies, the English. So this is called Such a Parcel of Rogues in a Nation. I'll do my best to read it, HB, with all the Gaelic Scottish words that are in here and as quickly as I can. Here we go. It says, farewell to our Scottish fame, farewell our ancient glory, farewell even to the Scottish name, say famed in martial story. Now Sark rins o'er the Solway sands and Tweed rins to the ocean, to mark where England's province stands, such a parcel of rogues in a nation. What force O guile could not subdue, through warlike ages, is wrought now by a coward few, for hireling traitors' wages. The English steal with disdain, secure in valor's station, but English gold has been our bane, such a parcel of rogues in a nation. O would, or I had seen the day that treason thus could sell us. My old gray head had lain in clay with Bruce and loyal Wallace. But pith and power till my last hour, I'll make this declaration. We're bought and sold for English gold, such a parcel of rogues in a nation.
Beautiful. Well done, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that wraps up this episode number 29 of Rapping with Rapscallions. We're here every Sunday at 3 p.m. We're definitely going to get the podcast going so you guys can listen to us while you drive around. Listen to the old episodes of the Darien debauchery. So I am reminded by that beautiful poetry of a story of Mel Gibson was filming Braveheart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes up and because we're wearing kilts in our little avatars here. So there's some time they're switching a camera or something like that. And he walks up to one of the extras who's like a real Scotsman. He's got his kilt on. He's like, hey, so what do you wear under your kilt? And the guy looks at him in the face. He says, your mother's face. And on that note, we're wrapping up Scallions episode 29. In the future, we're going to try and have some Panama Canal pilots. These guys drive ships through the canal.
Like this.
Lots of friend of mine's. Yeah. Rolling. So look for that in the future. We haven't solidified anything, but that's what we're thinking about now. And again, the podcast is coming. Any comments on shows that you'd like to see about Panama and its history, just let us know. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Joe. What a wonderful episode.
Thank you, man. Peace out. Hearts across America.
Hearts.
J-O-E in the place to be. HB on the track, it's like ecstasy. Rowing a well of 7 years, what we drink and be. Trying to sling the dopest rhymes in the galaxy. Let me take a minute though and relax your mind. Sometimes these words can be hard to find. 24/7 on that daily grind. Hearing voices in my head, man, they not that kind. Cause bitches be bitches. Snitches keep snitching. The world keeps turning. And I keep hitching a ride instead of living my life. Yo.
Man, when you feel hungry, don't you have to eat?
Yo, pump up the volume and digest this beat.
Rapscallions in the house with this lyrical treat.
When we're done with you, you're gonna ice your feet.
If the world ends tomorrow and you had one chance,
Hey yo, would you start to move like it's your last dance?
yo, do something small in the past and present changes.
Do something now, the future rearranges.
Cause bitches keep bitching.
Yo, snitches keep snitching.
The world keeps turning.
And you start living your life instead of hitching a ride.